Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're navigating the world of Sacco investments, the legal jargon in Part 9 of the 2020 Sacco Society's regulations can feel like a total maze, but that's exactly what we're going to fix right now. We're breaking down regulations 45 through 49, and as we go through these dark teal and lime green sketch notes, you're going to see how these rules aren't just compliance headaches. They are the ultimate roadmap for protecting your members' wealth. Let's get into it. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover 1. The foundation. 2. Strict limits on assets. 3. Non-government security caps. 4. Mastering due diligence. 5. Avoiding insider conflicts. And wrap up with 6. Compliance and annual reporting. Starting with Section 1, the foundation, building an ironclad investment policy. Before a single shilling leaves the account, your board of directors absolutely has to nail down a formal investment policy. Think of this as your organization's rulebook. The law says you must explicitly outline your objectives, exactly what types of investments are allowed, and your hard limits. But it actually goes a lot deeper than that. You have to clearly define how things get approved, what the investment committee actually does, set up a serious risk management framework, and even lay out the required competencies for the personnel making these calls. It's not just about what you buy, it's about who holds the pen and how they decide. Moving right along to Section 2, strict limits on assets, navigating the guardrails. Okay, the authority doesn't play around when it comes to physical assets. Your total investment in land, buildings, and equipment is capped at a strict 10% of your Sacco's total assets. And zooming in on that, there is a hard 5% sublimit specifically dedicated to land and buildings. That means the other 90% of your assets has to be deployed elsewhere. Now, if you really need to exceed these limits, you have to get a formal waiver, which means proving cost justification and analyzing the capital impact. Oh, and quick side note, if you have donated or foreclosed assets, those actually don't count toward this limit. But here's the real kicker. 5 years. Let's say your Sacco buys a plot of land for future expansion. Great idea, right? Well, the clock starts ticking the second you close the deal. If that property just sits there unutilized for 5 straight years from the date of acquisition, you are legally required to dispose of it. The regulations simply do not allow Saccos to hoard idle land and just call it a future plan. Next up, Section 3, non-government security caps, protecting core capital. All right, let's talk financial markets. For non-government securities, so we're talking equities, collective investment schemes, bonds, commercial papers, the whole shebang, your total investments cannot go past 40% of your Sacco's core capital. The goal here is pretty simple. We literally have to shield that core capital from wild market volatility. But you can't just dump that entire 40% into one place. You've got strict sublimits to force diversification. For any single legal entity's equities or derivatives, you're capped at 20% of your prescribed limit. If you're looking at collective investment schemes, bonds, or commercial papers, that cap is 30%. And if you happen to be investing in the equities of a subsidiary or a related entity, you can actually push that up to 50%. Speaking of which, what exactly is a related entity in the eyes of the regulators? It's basically another Sacco or co-op where you share common members, common directors, a common bond, or joint ventures. But here is a massive regulatory red flag to keep in mind. You absolutely cannot finance, extend a loan to, or provide a guarantee for a related entity without getting prior written approval from the authority first. No exceptions. That brings us to Section 4, mastering due diligence, the checkpoints. You obviously can't just invest members' funds on a hunch. You have to run a serious, documented appraisal. First off, does the idea actually comply with the investment policy we just established? You need to crunch the total cost, figure out your true financing ability, the expected return rate, and the exact payback period. Plus, you have to map out all the risks, financial, legal, even environmental mitigation. And crucially, you have to document how this undeniably benefits the members, while double-checking the ownership structure to prevent any shady insider dealings. So, you've done all that meticulous homework. Are you ready to sign the check? Nope. It's a strict 3-step process. Step 1, you execute that due diligence. Step 2, you get the authority's written green light. And Step 3, you have to take the proposal and your comprehensive report straight to the members at a duly constituted meeting for their final approval. You literally cannot skip a single step. And Regulation 47 is incredibly particular about how you store all this proof. All your original physical investment documents, they have to be locked away safely in a fireproof safe, period.
And to protect your digital footprint, the Sacco is legally required to maintain an active disaster recovery site. You're basically preparing for the absolute worst-case scenario to protect the members' best interests.
All right, moving to Section 5, Avoiding Insider Conflicts, the Transparency Test. This regulation draws a very hard line in the sand. Without prior written approval from the authority, it is expressly prohibited to acquire, sell, or lease premises to or from a board member, an employee, or their immediate family. And that ban extends to any businesses where those individuals own an interest greater than 10%. But what if it's a transaction with a family member that isn't explicitly prohibited? Well, it might be allowed, but only if it passes a rigorous 3-part test. It must be fully disclosed, conducted strictly at arm's length, and undeniably be in the absolute best interest of the Sacco Society.
Let's head into our final stretch. Section 6, Compliance and Annual Reporting, Reaching the Destination.
I want you to circle the 15th of January in bold lime green on your calendar. Why? Because under Regulation 49, your Sacco must submit a full return on its investments at the end of every year, and the authority actually has to receive it on or before January 15th of the following year. This is your ultimate accountability checkpoint. So look at the big picture here. From locking down that foundational policy and respecting the strict physical asset limits, all the way to mastering due diligence and hitting your reporting deadlines, these rules are not just tedious red tape. They are a vital playbook specifically designed to protect the collective wealth of your members. So, is your current investment setup truly compliant? Or are your members' funds accidentally at risk? For specialized consulting on these matters and to see how this roadmap fits your organization, please reach out directly at 0107 719 089.